to another episode of Have You Heard This Before? I've decided today to delve into Bob Dylan and his album John Wesley Harding. To me, this album demonstrates his music as somewhere that demonstrates the fact that blues and folk music are two sides of the same coin. I know they've had very different histories, but as you start listening to the music, you start to hear more commonalities between them. In blues, you have the storytelling aspect, which started as more of a personal storytelling, just talking about your day, talking about the work and the difficult work conditions on plantations. But then you start going to more storytelling of, let's say Frankie and Johnny by Mississippi John Hurt, or just a narrative type storytelling. And then lastly, you have the more raunchier side of things. But I want to focus more on this narrative style of blues. And you start listening to that, and you come to realize it's folk music. Yet these artists are characterized as blues artists. Now that'll be a topic for another video, but at least just to get your brain thinking about it. What does this have to do with Bob Dylan? Well, on John Wesley Harding, first some background is from late 1964 to 1966, he completely changed his sound and started to record folk rock, blues rock albums. And maybe more folk rock, but still a blues influence on his sound. And you had things like Subterranean Homesick Blues come out of this, like a Rolling Stone. And then he came out with this, which was a shock to the system, as it was an acoustic album. But it's not like his acoustic folk of the early 60s. This is taking his rock and adding some country and folk and blues influences to it while maintaining this semi-acoustic sound. And on this record, it's Bob Dylan on vocals, guitar, harmonica, and piano, but there's also some Nashville heavy hitters like Charlie McCoy on bass, Kenny Buttrey on drums, and Pete Drake on steel guitar on 2 of the songs on this record. And on this album features a well-known song called All Along the Watchtower. To me, All Along the Watchtower demonstrates this shared thread between blues and folk. It's very much a narrative-based song. It's telling the story about a conversation between a joker and the thief. But the lyrical content, somewhat biblical-based, shares some threads with Robert Johnston's Mean the Devil blues. It also contains the pentatonic scale as well throughout, which is something that was used in blues. But it's still distinctly Bob Dylan, and it's hard to pinpoint the exact sound, because it sounds folky, but there is a bluesy tinge to it. And then you have Drifter's Escape and I'm a Lonesome Hobo. Both of those songs, to me, show a huge debt to Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie popularized a song called Drifter's Lullaby, and to me, this idea of the drifter is something that ran throughout Woody Guthrie's entire career, and that definitely rubbed off on Bob Dylan with both of these songs. And they're more of a folk style of narration. And then, lastly, you'll have I'll Be Your Baby Tonight, which features Pete Drake on steel guitar. And to me, this is his most country-esque song on this record. And it's a love song. It's not, it's not him singing anything political. It's just him singing a love song. And to me, it's quite effective in that way. And this is his first time touching country music. But after working with Charlie McCoy and Pete Drake, he ended up going to Nashville and recording his take on country with Nashville Skyline. But I digress. To me, this record is a must listen because it not only does it show Bob Dylan's sound at its best and what he's capable of and the amount of influences he can take in while still sounding uniquely like Bob Dylan, but it does open the question as to how different are folk and blues as a music. And the question is the characterization of folk and blues a fair thing to use? And yes, putting the race and the histories aside, I think as those genres evolved, they started to become more similar than different, whether people have noticed that or not. And that's Bob Dylan for you. So please enjoy.